Hi, and welcome to the 74th podcast episode of Keen Minds. We're covering NBC's The Blacklist. This is Season 6, Episode 10, The Cryptobanker. I'm Jen, a.k.a. Takata Sayako.
And I'm Tessa.
And how'd you like the episode?
I gotta say, I had very, very mixed views of the episode. It's unusually me that I have this generally I would feel, well, it's a great episode, but it was just filler, or there was a lot of I was bothered by this and that. This is nothing I can put my finger on. I mean, I did get a helicopter. I'm being very excited, and those of you who follow me or who are in Reddit and read me, I was very excited about getting these things about helicopters, because we kept getting this spoilers with helicopters, and I just I had in the helicopter coming in the gin. I was looking at something fun like that. And there's just this one little helicopter, or the stuff they did with the helicopters in Gregory the Bride. And here is this tiny little thing, and he doesn't even get in it. He doesn't start running or
I think you just hit on it. So Tessa and I were talking about this before we started recording. She was like, "Oh my gosh, just start recording. We're gonna lose it all." Personally for me, I came out of it really not really liking it. And kind of like you, I couldn't put my finger on it except for this. I feel like nobody's winning right now. And it's just one loss after another, and it's for everybody. I mean, if Red was losing and Liz was winning, or if the task force was winning, I mean, yeah, you got the Blacklister, but it's just, I feel like in the points that we need wins, we're not getting them. An audience can only go so long without feeling like there's any sort of emotional payoff for something. And that's a complaint I've had for a while with the Blacklist, is that they're not great with emotional payoff. They will suck the emotions out. They will use the emotions to, kick you in the gut, which is great. Good writing will kick you in the gut and make you feel like you want to curl up and cry. That's fantastic writing, but there has to be some sort of payoff at the end of it, because if not, then everything just sucks and you want to curl up and cry in a corner. And you don't want to leave your audience feeling that way. And right now, and I understand they're working towards something, but it feels like we've gone too long. And as down on Red as I have been, it felt like someone slapped me across the face when Dembe had to pull back up. One, I thought Dembe was going to get shot or something. I was really worried for him. And so the entire episode left me feeling really sour and irritable, and basically all of my complaints that I've had for the last couple seasons came full force. I'm just like, oh my God. And it left me in a horrible mood after. Well, and the second time through, because I just did my rewatch, and I've kind of been putting my rewatch off this weekend because I just didn't want to deal with it. Second time through was not nearly as bad for me. Overall, it felt like a decent episode. And then I realized it, because that same feeling came back, and it was Red's failed escape. It just left me really sour and irritable. And I think it's just been dragged out too long.
They've done a very interesting thing with this arc that they're working on season 6. Because there is one thing. It's what they have 2 arcs going on at the same time, and both arcs are very long arcs. I wouldn't be surprised if they go through the entire season.
That's all they do anymore. They don't do. They're off on their arcs.
But this one, in season 1, when we started watching the show, you have the same thing. Their whole season is one arc. It's the Berlin arc. But you don't notice what Reddington is doing until, well, if you were paying a lot of attention, you got it when Tom was explaining it to Jolene just before he killed her. And probably that's the reason why he killed, why he told her, because it was going to kill her.
She's going to die anyway. Dead women tell no tales.
But if not, if you're not paying attention to what Tom was doing, you found out what Red was doing when Liz finds out with Tom's code book, when she realizes he's just tracking Berlin. And this season is exactly the same. Red is tracking and trying to stop an assassination. And the interesting thing is he was doing so before he was caught up. It's very interesting what is happening, because I had to go back after I did this rewatch. I had to go back and look at everything that's happening in order to connect my dots and see where this is going. And it's very interesting, but it's a very long arc. And so this long arc that is happening is Red trying to stop an assassination, and at the same time provide somebody with a cure that is going to get him an immunity agreement or a pardon. And that's what Red has been working on the entire season.
Well, I wonder if the cure and stopping the assassination are all tied in together somehow. Yeah, I mean, sure that's my assumption, is that's all. And I get that. And the show's very good about building blocks and little pieces. I mean, it is a puzzle, and it's something that's worked very well for them. It's something that works great for Red. Red has always done that. Mm-hmm. I went back thinking about it. I went back. I'm like, okay, is this what's exhausting me? Because, and I look back, no, he's done that since day one. That's always been his jam. So that's not it. And so I'm not sure what maybe it's just the fact that he's so separated from everybody that he's.
Yeah, I think that is one thing. He is totally separated. It's dragging. I mean, this should have been done by now. And I know that what they're doing, they're upping the stake. This is going right into, he's going to get into the death chamber.
They could have upped the stakes a lot quicker, though. I mean, I understand that
they don't need to do this slow, but I think it is because you have the 22.
Yep.
22 will kill you.
And the thing is, they've done very well with 22. Up until up through season 3, season 4 was okay with 22. By 5, they didn't have the information to fill. So something interesting. One of NBC's other shows, Manifest. It was a freshman show this year, new in, and they cut off at, I want to say it was 16 episodes, 17 episodes. And I didn't realize I was watching the season finale when I was. Because I don't watch it live. I watch it on Hulu the next day. And so because of that, I hadn't gotten the preview going season finale next week, So I had no clue. And then the following Monday, or following Tuesday, I log on to Hulu and there's just no Manifest. And so I went and looked it up. And lo and behold, there are no more Manifest episodes this year, for the year, and Enemy Within had taken the time slot. And I did some asking around on it, and it turned out that the way it fell out, they actually asked for a shorter season because it fit their story. That the layout of their story, that's the way it worked. And the showrunners asked for that. John needs to ask for that. I don't think he will, but I think he could write. I think the man is capable. He and his team are fully capable of writing a very tight, very good story. They just need to find their best way of doing it. If that means an 18-episode season, they need to talk to NBC. They need to talk to Sony. They need to find a way to do it, because right now it's killing it.
Because they keep emptying it, because they got a voice, they got skating. It's very annoying, because especially when you have had to wait until January to begin, and then you begin, and then 3 episodes in, now we're off.
Especially
Then
when it was
took a little,
supposed to go straight through. That was
yeah.
like, to me, that was the only saving grace of it. I was like, well, they got put in the corner on Friday nights, 9 months in. The only thing that might keep their ratings up will be the fact that they're going straight through. Oh, wait, look, there's a week hiatus. We were told we weren't having that. Oh, but they're doubling up. You still got a week that they don't have anything, and you're going to lose people every time.
Mm. Yeah, that is one thing. I think that stories. I mean, we're not talking about episodic things. You're going to have like Law and Order. You can do Law and Order from here until 300 years from now, and you're not going to run out of crime. There is always going to be something in the paper to give you the next episode. But this kind of stories, they got a beginning, they got a middle, they got an end. You can stretch them a little bit, but it's, it's like a sweater. If you stretch it a little bit more, it just loses the shape. And I think that there is a bit of that going on. And this is a very long arc that will not be evident. And it's a far more complicated arc that at least me have realized. It starts with Red is trying to stop an assassination by the Corsican. That's what starts the whole thing. And he knows that the Corsican got to Kohler. So he's trying to find Kohler, not in order to retrieve his file. The task force had no idea of the Kohler. He doesn't need to get that thing. That's what Liz thinks, and that's what is important to separate point of view. And I know you want to talk about point of view, so that's going to give you the in there. But there is also but all he wants to know from Kohler is what's the new face of the Corsican. So, but then the misdirect is that we think that the Corsican's job is the assassination in the UN, and it is not. That's step one for that assassination. So when his plan was to blow up the UN in New York. Then we pick up this because he's looking for the Corsican. He gets into this mental facility, so he interrogates Atticus. That was very entertaining. And Atticus gives him General Shiro, and then General Shiro gives Denver an address that he goes in London. He photographs, and that's how we get to the cryptocurrency. Because he's trying to track who's paying this person. That's how we get to the cryptocurrency. And so the assassination that the Corsican is doing is a multi-step assassination. And Red is trying to track this assassination. And that's why this entire season feels like it's winding down. He's trying to stop it. And I thought about it, why the Corsican? And one of the things that totally I didn't pay much attention is the woman who hired the Corsican says it had to look as it fits your regular political agenda. So this assassination has nothing to do with the Corsican agenda of anti-globalism. And I think what he's doing by taking out New York is he's forcing somebody to go to another one of the UN and so it has to be Geneva. So he's trying to force an assassination as somebody that he wants to assassinate to go to the UN, but not New York, but Geneva. So it must be somebody that he's trying to assassinate. I think it's a president. He's trying to assassinate President Diaz. And I think that whoever Red is trying to save is somebody President Diaz cares for. So the wife, the daughter, the parents, whatever there is. So that I think is a very long arc, and it's not going to be evident. I'm getting better at kind of getting the little pieces and pick them up and get them. But it's a very, very stretched out arc.
And I do wonder, because, I mean, like, you and I haven't spent nearly as much time. I've been much busier this season than I usually am. So I haven't even, I keep thinking I need to go back and do a rewatch, if nothing else, of just season 6 so far of what we had. And I just haven't had time. You've done one recently, haven't you? A rewatch of season 6?
Nope, I have
thought
not.
you had. Okay.
I did watch a few key scenes, but I have not. I haven't had a lot of time.
I was going to say, you and I both tend to, so that we can, sound like we know what on earth we're talking about to do the podcast, we tend to do at least one rewatch of the episode before we record the podcast. So watch it, live or almost live, and then a rewatch. But most of the casual viewers, I mean, if they're anything like casual viewers of other shows that I know, or even what I'm casual viewer of, they're not going to do rewatches. They're not, I mean, and the audience isn't stupid, especially not on a show like this. You don't get a stupid audience watching this show, just because it's just not geared that way. But still, if I'm... they're not going to pick up on every tiny detail that you need multiple rewatches for.
But they will always direct your attention back.
Yes, that's true. I'm just saying that, like, I worry that they will get... I haven't been watching the numbers super close this season, but I do worry that the casual viewer is going to get a little tired.
Well, the
stretch.
My casual viewers fall within the... your typical audience for the show. They're a little older, they're highly educated, they're probably wealthier than the norm, and they do very well in Europe. And I think that they do get a lot more stuff than we think. I mean, this is not definitely Here Comes Honey Boo Boo audience, where you only have to keep track of what dress was she wearing.
I had to think about that for a second, realize what on earth you were talking about.
I have two like that. Here Comes Honey Boo Boo and Ice Truckers.
I don't know Ice Truckers.
Oh, don't worry.
I wish I didn't know Honey Boo Boo, but sadly I do.
Yeah. It's one of those things. So anyway, the interesting thing that is happening here is that we're getting also Liz's point of view, and Liz's point of view is a very different point of view from the audience. And those two, she has an agenda, and that agenda, it's colliding, and I guess that at the end they will all come together.
It typically does.
This is an interesting thing happening here. But Liz's point of view brings me into one of the things that I know you want to talk about, that is the Liz bashing. Okay. And it's getting bad. And
the thing is, I mean, I tend to hang out over on Tumblr. That's my social media of choice. Why? I must be a masochist, but that's fine. I've come to terms with this over the years. But I have also made great use of Tumblr's blocking, and as well as blocking users and blocking tags, and so blacklisting tags over there. So I don't see a lot of the Liz hate. I miss it, a lot of it, because the people that used to show up in my inbox to yell at me about Tom, I don't think they can get there anymore because their IP addresses are all blocked. And and their main accounts are blocked and everything. So I just don't hear much from people that I don't know in the fandom very often anymore. And I don't go into the main tag. I haven't in years. I just don't go looking for reasons to be sad and disappointed in the fandom. But even though I don't, sometimes they cross my my dashboard anyway. And one specifically that I saw was someone talking about an article that was written. And, I mean, fandom does what fandom does. They pick on characters, they hate characters, they love characters, sometimes for reasons that I agree with, sometimes for reasons that I'm like, you hate her because she's not bowing to your wishes, or the guy's wishes, or what have you, which is a lot with Liz. Seems like a lot of people view Liz based on their favorite male character. Which, I mean, it's...
Happy International Women's Day.
I know, right? I mean, to be fair, and taking gender out of it, a lot of people, especially character-driven fans like myself, do view other characters in light of their own favorite. I tend to view most of the characters in light of Tom, because I love Tom. Tom has always been my favorite. When they killed Tom off, honestly, I got a lot deeper look at Liz. This sounds terrible. It sounds like I'm saying it's a good thing they killed him. But no, I'm not saying that. But, I mean...
It was the remaining king.
Yeah, and so...
you gotta pick up another favorite.
I feel
and Red
like,
wasn't going to cut it.
And you know what? Honestly, at this point, I think I've been getting more and more fond of Liz just on her own over the years in general. I never hated her. I got frustrated with what was put as flip-flopping, which I now disagree with. At the time, I felt like she flip-flopped a lot, but it goes back to point of view. But going back, sorry, I'm getting off topic. The thing that bothered me was this was not just, from my understanding of the post that I read, it was not just another, casual blog on Tumblr. It wasn't a fan. It was a staff writer from TV Fanatic that just ripped her to shreds because of what she did to Red. And so the woman sounded just like the raging Red fans that just, if Liz is not bowing down at Red's feet, kissing his boots, and offering to lick the dust off of them, then she should just be done. Just get rid of her. What good is she anyway? And that point of view, no matter what, I don't care which male it is, but that point of view has always really bothered me. Even when she and Tom were at each other, I think she had every right to be pissed the hell off at him. And it goes back to what Tessa was just saying. It's about a point of view. Take yourself out of, one, your shoes, two, your favorite shoes for 5 seconds and put yourself in Elizabeth Keene's shoes. What has she found? She started 6 years ago, not realizing, she thought that if what Red said is accurate, that her mother died of weakness and shame and that her biological father was a career criminal. Or maybe he was referring to Sam because Sam had a very sketchy past. Regardless, she had worked her butt off. She got into the FBI. She was a profiler. She had what she thought was a good marriage to a nice guy. They were going to adopt a kid. Raymond Reddington comes in and blows everything out of the water, including that her entire home life is a lie as well. And as the mask on her starts to crack, I think she has had to come to terms with who she is as well, which is, those introspective moments can be very difficult, especially if you've been hiding from yourself for years like Liz seems to have been. And then discover that everything that she remembers is not what she remembers. Yes, exactly. And so
there's a huge gap in her life.
Huge gap in her memories, her life. I mean, and she makes a comment to Wrestler in season 2. She says, I don't even know when my birthday is. There's so much about herself she doesn't know and doesn't understand, and things that she's getting half-truths, and Red's letting her believe things because it's easier for him, and he's changing things. Honestly, the fact that she's not rocking back and forth in a corner in her nice little comfy straitjacket right now is a testament to her character and her strength. So you try telling me Liz isn't strong, but
then she finds out that this guy that she thought was her father is now it seems like he is not.
Yes.
So this is, it just continues on and on and on.
Has been hiding who her real father is and been wearing her father's face. It just, the whole thing is so off the charts. It could only happen in something like a heightened reality that we're working in here.
Yeah, otherwise she would be a raging lunatic. She had a child, then she left the child. By now she probably doesn't even remember the child. And a lot of people are very pissed about that, and very pissed that she's in a revenge, and very pissed that she's not even asking about her child.
I don't think she can right now. I think she's so focused on getting to the end of this, because otherwise, and I know some people don't think she's a very good mom, but maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but
Well, the show doesn't have a great thing of great moms.
No, it doesn't. But she just, I mean, what's her option? What is her other option? Bringing Agnes back into this with all the questions and all the danger of the half-truths and the possible lies, the possible truths, and we still don't know who Raymond Reddington is? Yeah, let's bring the kid back into that in the middle of the danger. Sure. Mm-hmm. That would make a great mom.
I also think the one, I mean, that's a character perspective, and it has to make, when you're writing a story, it has to make sense from the character perspective. And whenever people get pissed about things and about characters, I always say, I know that we're living in a very narcissistic world where it's just about you. And whatever you want, you feel, you like. But there is another perspective called put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And a lot of the things that you say, that they say, I mean, I see it I'm in Reddit and I see the same level of hate. And I go to everybody that says that and says, wait a minute. First, take yourself off your little shoes in your little world. Get your nose out of your belly button and take a look around from the point of view of Liz King. What has she seen? What does she know to be?
And that's another thing is
if a person kidnaps you and then saves you, puts you in a difficult position and saves you, it's not a good thing. They're not loving you.
And, he may be loving her to the best of his ability. That doesn't mean his ability is very good.
Or, there may be reasons, but because you're not omniscient.
And he won't share them, so...
Exactly. For reasons that he can tell, oh, you know what, there's this big danger if I say anything. I don't know why. That's his big reason. I don't know why.
And that's when I started disliking Raymond Reddington. Yeah.
But then
she required Tom to be completely honest with her before she would trust him again. He had to earn that trust back. Reddington has never decided to be honest with her. The day he sits down and goes, let me tell you about what's going on here, that's when he can start earning her trust back. Until then, he doesn't deserve it.
We don't know. I mean, and that you have to also do the other way, which is put yourself in Red's position. But
potentially, yeah. But I'm saying from Liz's point of view.
Every character will have that. Will have a point of view from which their point of view, whatever it is that they're doing, makes sense. If the character is well written, it makes sense. And I don't know if you remember, I wrote one post about the mercurial nature of Liz, the flip-flops. And I remember there was a lot of, people bashing Megan, and I said, you know what, I'm a theater director, and whenever I have an actor, I direct this actor towards one thing, and unless you get to the end of whatever, the play, the book, the movie, the series, you cannot know what they're playing. So you can't tell, oh, she's being terrible, because you don't know what the actor is being instructed to play. So you may think you're seeing something, and then you get it flipped, especially when you're seeing this kind of, where things flip and perspective flip all the time. So when I wrote that, I concluded, I said, let's imagine that Megan is doing exactly what she's being instructed. And what I got from that is Liz suspects that Red is her father, knows or suspects Red is her father, and she's royally pissed that he is still, for her not to come and say, I'm your father, or I'm your daughter, you're my daughter, if he cannot say I'm your father. It feels like he's rejecting her. It doesn't matter as much that he's saving her life or doing everything to keep her safe. It's that rejection that for Liz, who's desperate for her family, feels like a stab in the heart. And then they twist it a little bit. So her flip-flops were when she felt that he was acknowledging and being okay, it was good, then she was happy. When she felt like she was angry and pissy was because she felt rejected. So that's the other point of view. And the the thing about these characters, and for example, when you get to Red, you get the same thing. We don't know why Red is doing this. He tells Dembe he doesn't know, but there gotta be a reason. Because think about Dom. Whenever I get angry with Red, I think about Dom. And I guarantee you one thing: Dom had no idea what Katerina did with that phone call or setting him up. I guarantee you he does not. So he is doing something to protect Katerina as well. So let's get the jury still is out. Don't make this harsh judgments on Liz, who's.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing that I keep saying about Red for me. That right now, and I've been saying this since season 4 when he shot Kate. Said right now I'm very angry at Red. I hope they change my mind by the end. I will continuously hope that by the end they are capable of changing my mind. I want them to. I hope they do. Because I used to love Raymond Reddington. And I hope that they give me a solid enough... I can't fathom a solid enough reason that works right now. And I know a lot of fans feel that way. I've read multiple, comments on Tumblr and such of fans that feel similarly. But that doesn't mean that there's not an answer out there that just we haven't thought about. We're bitter, we're angry, we haven't thought about it yet. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, plenty of times I've looked at it and gone, okay, I can't think of a good way for them to get out of this. And then something comes out of left field and I go, oh, that's it.
That's
where they're going. Yeah. Because that's the wonderful thing about having a writing team. You have the showrunner or showrunners, and then you have a team of talented, insanely talented people that are all sitting around, a room bouncing ideas off of each other until you find the right path. And that leaves it with a bunch of different people, a bunch of different point of views to come at it and find the best path. So they're going to be capable of it. I just don't know if they will deliver on it for me. We'll find out. But I hope
think that they will. What did you think about the Blacklister of the week?
Okay, I have some notes on the Blacklister because overall, fantastic. I mean, children in danger, the little girl in danger, the probably quite a few.
Oh, that brought me right back to season 1 and Beth Riker.
I mean,
that was right
all
there.
Of them. I mean, children in danger has been a constantly running theme through this. So yeah, that was brilliant. I will say that I was a little confused on what I was missing because they're talking about $3 million and $6 million, and they're going to have a choice of their island of their choice. And I'm going, I don't, don't get me wrong. Even $1 million would be a lot of money for me, but not necessarily for bankers in New York City or DC or wherever they were supposed to be located, and certainly not for buying a private island. I don't know where that disconnect was. But I don't think you can buy a private island of your choice, any private island, for $6 million.
But it's not that simple, because the Cryptobanker, you get all these criminals that are doing all these things in cryptocurrency. And eventually, they want that cryptocurrency to convert in regular dollars or yens or marks or whatever. And in order to do that, they needed somebody who would provide them a means of doing that. And that's what these guys were doing. They would find a target that they could blackmail for money. And then what they would do is have them sell stock or something like that. They would buy that stock. They will make the money legally, and then they would give it to the criminal. And so their cut was probably huge in cryptocurrency. So what you're seeing is just the side that made the wash money, not the side of the transactions that they were paying. So the cryptocurrency part of the transaction was huge. What they were doing was the washing up. So what came out of the washing up is a lot less than what the cryptocurrency was.
Oh,
I
okay.
do think there's a disconnect. But
Okay, I don't know a lot about cryptocurrency, and by I don't know a lot, meaning I know it exists, and that I got a super scammy email going, buy cryptocurrency here today, and I went, no, absolutely not. Like I know very, very little about it, and so that would make more sense if it's
the criminal would say, hey, I just bought stock, and look, it went up. So it went down, and I just made this money on the market, and the banker was going to be doing the washing up by creating the circumstances in which these guys will do the blackmail, the other ones will buy it, they will get out of there with the currency nicely washed. And of course, it would be a lot less that the crypto stuff was going to make. So whatever they were making in cryptocurrency, they could probably buy an island. They were just coming out of there slowly without calling any attention to anything by doing 3 million here, 6 million there, little amounts like that for, the criminal stuff that was going on. And Red wants the Cryptobanker in order to find out who's paying the Corsican.
Okay. I mean, I knew why Red wanted him. It just was it was the $6 million to buy a private island of their choice. I'm going, something's not connecting correctly there for me.
Well, the stock tumble, that was the important part, was that the stock tumble. And once it tumbled, then they could buy it, or they could bet against it and then make the money that way by making a bet that the stock was going to go down, which it did. So that's how how's that work? Do you have anything on wrestler this time?
I really didn't. No. Did you?
No. He had. I mean, it was very small parts. I do on Samar and Aram.
Yeah, I had something on Aram. Aram had a good bit this time, and I loved his interaction with it's kind of interesting. I'm just gonna. Did you see the bit that I want to say Allie Blacklist posted it? It might have been Nancy too. One of them posted it. That it was a 2 truths and 1 lie from Megan Boone from Instagram. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember what all they were, but it was.
Once Aram and Samar were having a kid?
Yeah, it was wrestler was going to take the stand, at Reddington's trial. Samar and Aram were going to Samar was going to basically have Aram's baby. And I'm trying to remember what the third one was. I don't remember off the top of my head.
And he was going to reveal something, but that was not the same.
No, it was. I don't remember. It was the third one. But
so we're going to get a wedding and we're going to get a baby.
But putting the kid right next to Aram kind of made me think about that. I was like, well, good with kids. Yeah, you never know. But anyway, I really liked that whole scene between him and the kid. It was very nice. But I thought that when just the angle, it just was the angle of the camera. But when I first watched the episode, I thought he shot the Cryptobanker in the head.
No, I thought it was actually very nice. I mean, it
was a great shot. I mean, honestly, he did everything he was supposed to, even though he was a little panicky over it. He did everything he needed to that he was supposed to. It was the angle of the camera. I thought he shot him in the head at first.
Well, one of the things that I like about that scene was it was very nice to see, and again I'm going on to something different with this as usual as the things I do, which generally start on a tangent and eventually get there. I like
Wait a minute, we go on tangents? What?
Yeah, I hate to tell you.
Since when?
It's a new thing.
Okay, good to know.
I thought that it was very interesting the way they had Samar and Aram. They're doing their interrogation. So, Aram shoots him very nicely so he's not dead and can still give them the information. And then he says, I need the passer. And Samar is just like, oh, okay. Grabs the guy.
Oh, I loved
lift
that.
the arm. It was great. I mean, it was like Samar. I remember having Samar one of those moments. There was one with Mira. There was one with, and I love the fact
Wrestlers
that when
done
they
it before,
do these
too.
things, it's usually the woman who's like the badass.
I do like that.
Yeah, but we've also have had this very nice moment with Cooper and Red. If you do this, you overdose. If you don't do this, you overdose. If you don't give me the information, you overdose. And those, they're always fun moments. And what I found most fun about this was it gave me a feel that we are going to find Katerina and that he and Red used to work together. Because I'm thinking, I know that we're getting a side of the story, but I don't think we're getting nearly the entire story. Why do I say that? Because I cracked the numbers. I am not ready to share all of them. I've shared little bits here and there, and the numbers tell me that we're going to see more of that story. But it's interesting because we're getting into a couple cooperating like that, and it was a fun scene. I love seeing Samar badass because I love badass Samar. Then I only bring Ness back, and that would be really fun. Or Solomon.
Oh, I miss Ness and Solomon. Honestly, yeah. I miss the whole redemption crew. I mean, because there's so much that just wasn't finished up on that. We still don't know if Kat's alive or dead. Dumont. I mean...
Yeah. Kat, I don't care, but Dumont I do.
I don't care. Poor stupid girl. Hopped into bed with the wrong guy. It happens on spy shows. It shouldn't have with her, but it does.
A male escort that reads the Wall Street Journal, that should have been a no-no.
Or just a male escort at all. I mean, not when you have high level intel. Just no trust. Like, Scotty shouldn't have been sleeping with him. Neither of them should have been sleeping with him. For the exact same reason, is that a male escort will have a higher possibility.
Especially ones that reads the Wall Street Journal.
I'm sure there are male escorts that are very well educated. I don't know any...
I don't know. I
don't know very many male escorts, so I can't really judge.
I don't know. I mean, let me just phrase it like that. I don't know if I know any male escorts.
That's fair.
You never know. I mean, you never know what the people that went to college with you were doing in their free time to make extra cash, and some of them are really cute.
Very true.
So it's all getting there somehow. Did you find interesting about Cooper that he said, maybe Red has a plan?
Okay, so I do have a comment on that whole spiel. So yeah, I think Cooper was very much expecting him to just break out of prison and do the thing and basically go on the lam, and he would drop them blacklisters when he could, sort of thing. And I think Cooper was 100% okay with that. I think he would have rolled with it. He would have gone with it, and I don't know, it was an anonymous tip, but we followed it, and look at that. We've got a high-profile catch again. I mean, they would have been able to manage it. What I found interesting, I'm not so much surprised that Liz was worried, because I think that she feels incredibly guilty. I don't think she thought it all the way through when she called him in, or when she had the girl call it in. When she had him arrested, essentially. I don't think that she ever thought it would get this far. I think, she assumed the immunity agreement, or Red would somehow find a way out of it, that something would happen. I don't think she ever in her wildest dreams thought he would be put on death row and, and get lethal injection. So now that it's happening, I think she's a little bit panicked, and definitely a lot on the guilty side of feeling very guilty over it, because while I think she's very angry and very upset with him over the lies and the lack of honest answers, I don't think she ever
intended for him to happen.
To die.
And she
exactly.
Definitely didn't intend it for him to be on there as he was escaping. And
And I
Yeah.
think that if he had told her, if he had had a way to tell her, if he had told her, I'm going to
He
do
was
this,
telling her.
well, she missed it. And
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think,
when make a reservation, excuse me, I'm
I
going to
mean,
escape. Can you just not be around?
exactly. And I don't think she caught the hint. I think it just went over her head. She was too busy in let me do anything I can to help you mode that she blew right past it and ended up making him late for it, which threw everything out of whack. And
Well, Liz also doesn't listen much. I mean,
she
that's one of the
doesn't.
things that Liz haters tend to miss is like one of her character traits is that Liz never does what she's told. That's why she got out of the closet and shot someone.
But my question, I think, is like that all made complete sense to me. That she took the stand, she continued doing that. That made sense. It was totally in character for her. I think she was
Do you
trying to do
think
what
that
she.
she's doubting that he is not her father?
I don't think it really matters at this point. I think she just wants to make sure that she's not the reason he dies. Now, I would like to put a little caveat of my own in here that goes back to the Liz hate of regardless on if she called him in or not, it is 100% his fault that he's going to be on death row. He is not on death row for something Elizabeth Keene did that he's taking the fall for. I've seen people blaming her for him being on death row, so she turned him in. Not the best move, perhaps, but it is not her fault that he is guilty of the crimes that they are saying he's guilty of. And we've seen him murder. We've seen him do terrible things. He would be put on death row.
Yeah,
And
so would Liz. I mean,
but I'm
let's
just
be
saying
clear.
that I've seen people that blaming her for this, including the staff writer that I mentioned earlier, and I'm just going, oh my god, he did these things. Like,
Well, he pleaded guilty. He could have tried to.
but we have seen him murder. Like that's
Yeah,
not.
no, but he pleaded guilty in order to not have the task force be out there because it's what he said. Once Seema brought out,
I do have a question about that. And let's come back to why he pled guilty. Let's put a pin in that and come back to it because I want to finish the breakout itself. My question was that everything else made sense for me with Liz, except for when she saw it with her own eyes what was happening. She walked in, she saw the warden on the floor. The dumb woman that was getting the Yoho, whatever it was called, is going, Jam? And Liz takes off running like she's going to get help. That made no sense to me. I mean, she could have just stood there and bought Red as much time as she could. And when they asked her why, I go, I was just trying, I was kind of dumbfounded, sorry. Like, or not run to it, just,
or run to the warden, or, oh my God, is he okay?
Yeah, she could have bought
breathing.
time. And there were several things she could have done. Instead, she took off in a sprint to go get help. She had to have known at that point. She is not an idiot.
That she wanted to get help. I think it was this instinctive thing that he's in danger.
And maybe that's it, but like that was the only point that for me didn't make a whole lot of sense.
But it goes with her character. Elizabeth Keene, it's never been portrayed as a person who, under intense emotional stress, make any good decision.
She and Tom. She and Tom with the bad life choices under stress.
And Red as well. I mean, Red has, I mean, the mistakes he has done under stressful circumstances.
And it always has to do with family, whether biological or not.
And that is something that is, it makes sense in a way.
Mm-hmm. It does. So
I mean, that was really a stupid move. But I think that Liz is in a very, very fragile point. I mean, she's just not the smartest decision maker under stress.
I think she's at a breaking point right now. She's under a tremendous amount of stress. She's been under a constant amount of stress for ages. She doesn't have she's got Wrestler on her side now, but I mean, she's for the last couple 3 years, she's had someone to go home to. She doesn't even really, I mean, like, she goes home to that apartment, I suppose, where she watched her husband be murdered in front of her eyes. I mean, that can't possibly be a home. That can't be a place where she gets a good night's sleep. It's probably been a long time since she's had a really decent night's sleep.
Yeah.
A lot of stress. A lot of stress for our girl.
And she is, and to begin with, she's never been good at it. Liz Keane is not a character that, since she was, there is a reason why I always read said you have to find for yourself. You have to find this out for yourself. There is a reason why she's not told this is this and this and this. And it's part because of these people have, they're so dishonesty is their stock and trade. They go to, that's when they're spies. You cannot be a spy if you tell the truth or if you think that people are telling you the truth. You gotta think that everybody lies. You have to be good at lying. You have to be good at misdirecting. And I think eventually it gets into the way you are. So let us talk.
I was gonna say, because we said we'd put a pin in it. Let's key back around to Reddington, and here's the question I want to pose that we can both answer. And if you'll go first, do you think that he pled guilty to protect Liz and the task force, to protect himself, or a combination thereof?
A combination. It has to be a combination because let's say that he had not pleaded guilty. Seema had the entire intention of, without a warning, he brought the immunity agreement. Then
he's so slimy. Slimy.
I am actually now considering something that I have heard other people think about, and I said, no, I don't think. I think he is from that part of the cabal that Red had not actually got in.
Possibility.
He mentioned the task force.
I've wondered about the judge too, though. If the judge is cabal, I would lean more towards Seema these days.
Yes,
but
Seema definitely is. There is something slimy about Seema that doesn't strike me as being the kind of squeaky clean that wrestler appeared to be at the beginning. There is something more here. He made it basically, once it's set it in front of the jury, you know that that's going to go out there, and you know that somebody's going to find out Reddington is an informant, so it doesn't matter if he gets to give them the death penalty. He'll be killed in the streets.
That's exactly what he said. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was so slimy.
Yeah. Then he brings out the task force. So now they know that there is this task force that is working with Raymond Reddington. So now all these criminals are going to go right at them. And all of these crimes are going to eventually, they're going to start prosecuting the task force. So they're square back where they were with Gale and prosecuting the task force and doing all these things in season 4. It's a task force in jeopardy because of this. And now they don't have a Hitchens to get them out of there. So this is really very dangerous because it's going to get Red killed one way or the other, and it's going to get the task force in jail. So whoever Seema really is working for, that's the objective, is the obliteration of Reddington and the task force. And
which would make sense for the cabal. I mean, that makes total sense for the cabal.
But because we tend to think that we know the cabal, but the cabal is like a little onion that we've been peeling. When we first got it, it was like, oh, it's just this tiny group of people with Fitch. And then it was, nope, there is another faction here that is under the director, and they were going at each other.
And the moment that recording came into play, Seema did not want that played in court. He didn't want that anywhere near court. Yeah, I like it. I'm on board with
Yeah.
that. SEMA,
Yeah.
Cabal. Yep.
Yeah.
I could see it.
There is something in there, and he was making fun of the Cabal. That was exactly the same attitude that Peter had,
And that that Hitchens had when
and
she...
that Hitchin had.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this is, I mean, we still got a faction that is in Bonn that is a higher echelon of the Cabal that we have not seen. And we got to remember something. The Night of the Fire, it was filmed, I'm sure that it was filmed straight, and then they did a lot of special effects, kudos, to get that to look the way it does. But there are certain things in that night that are very clear. We see at least the faces of a few and the backs of the others, of the people that were there that night. And one thing that I know is that whoever had Elizabeth King that night was not Raymond Reddington. I don't care what people think. It doesn't make any sense. I can go on for hours on that. That's what seems like, but that's not the way it is. He couldn't possibly have them. And some of these people are still out there. And it goes back to this conspiracy, to what Fitch was doing. And I love the fact that they're bringing back things right to season 1, because for 6 years I've been saying it goes back to Fitch, it goes back to Berlin, it goes back to Katharina, and people have been saying, nah, those are not important characters. Well, they are, and they're coming back to them. So that, and then I'll go into the Cabal. So I think that's my opinion. It's both.
I think the Cabal has been the big bad the whole time. You know, when Red got a seat and then it just disappeared, the Blacklist has a habit of, this is the big, but we're going to redirect you over here until
it's like a magician.
Yeah, I mean, so don't look
this
over
is
here.
A rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, there's a pretty assistant in flashy colors and sequins and things.
Look at the rabbit right now.
So you gotta look at what they're not letting you look at it. Mm-hmm. And the way the story fits right now, it's too tight. Especially when we consider that we still got probably one more season and over 12 episodes left. More than 12 episodes left. So we are way in the early beginnings. And when things fit tight, beware. That's not how they go.
Oh, yeah. I think we're definitely, like, that recording's going to get unraveled and picked apart. And there are going to be many different facets because we don't know what we don't know yet. No. So, my opinion on if he was protecting Liz or protecting himself, I do think it was a combination thereof. I don't think he wants Liz to go to prison, or, I mean, because we saw his reaction when he thought she was dead. I mean, that was a genuine reaction. He does love her. I've never doubted that he loves her, at least to the best of his ability, even if his ability isn't very good. But I do think that the reason he was also in great part protecting himself because he needs the task force. Tom made the comment in season 2, when Red came and to try to get him from
Berlin, yeah.
No, he wasn't in Berlin. He was in
Dresden.
Dresden, thank you. But when he came to Dresden to get him, he made the comment. He said, "You need your task force out of prison to make it work," or something like that. I don't remember the verbatim statement, but he made a pointed statement about they have to be out of prison. They need to be out there doing your bidding for this to work. And I think it goes back.
It's way more than Tom. More people have said that now that you said it.
And so I think that that's what this circles back to, is that he has this immunity agreement that he's working on, that he thinks he has something to offer them, but he needs them out of prison. He needs to make sure that they are out, that they are functioning as a task force, they are together, the people that, I think you've said before, you think that he handpicked the task force, and I completely could see that. I don't question it, really. And so I think that while, yes, he is protecting Liz as well, I think that she's That's her narcissistic nature coming back around, that she thinks it's all for her. I don't think it's necessarily all for her. It's for the task force because they're useful to him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think that is because they're useful to him only. I think that...
Well, I think he's fond of them, but I think that they're incredibly useful to him.
I think that a lot of the people, maybe I do understand Red because I do have, more of Red that I care to admit in me. I think that Red has always complex motives and complex relationships with people. I do think that he tried to save them. He has saved all of them at one point or another. There is, it's like the psychiatrist said, and I think there was a pivotal scene. And in each one of those of the seasons, we have got one or another of these scenes in which we actually learn a lot. And it's those people that either read Red or to whom Red can talk to. And because they're either inconsequential and he's going to kill them, or because they're his peers and criminal and it doesn't matter. Because they don't know what he's talking about. So he talks to them. We had the psychiatrist in there who basically said, and I know people love to think he's just talking about he's not Raymond Reddington and he got called out. No, he's saying you're not a bad man. You're playing the bad man. You're not really a bad person. Which is what I've been saying since season 1. And this is a different, and then in season 4, we had Baldur, and he was talking about the nature of truth. And that was also pivotal. He was changing the way he was looking at certain truth. So whenever we see Raymond Reddington and affection, I think that when you're doing the work that he has been doing his entire life, and the life that he had to take in order to survive doing that, you don't have the simplicity of having relationships that exist purely because they're emotional. It doesn't matter. It's not about money. It's about resources. Your resources are limited because you need so many of them. And so whenever you're on a mission, so you can only get close to the people who are putting you next to that mission or on the way to the mission. And so those are the people that you end up being fond of. So it's not a simple relationship. I'm fond of you because you helped me. You help me. I'm fond of you because you help me, and you help me because I'm fond of you. And the whole thing becomes one. And characters have been saying that's from Ansel Garrick on. Nothing with you is simple. That's the reason why people who are desperate and they're fighting for something very complicated tend to have complicated motivations for that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's straightforward how he views, especially now. I mean, it may have been early on with a lot of the task force that they were just useful, but I do think it's become much more complicated than that.
And I even think, there were people like Ressler. I'm still not 100% sure that there is not a personal relationship there that Ressler is not aware of. I do have a feeling that other than Aram, everybody there that he had put on had have a personal relationship to him. Maybe I'm basing that on the fact that they both have Midwest ties and Michigan ties, and that is interesting to me that you're putting them both in that same area. But there is also a different thing that has happened with Red in he has had three phases. I can see phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and they're interesting to me. Phase 1, he always pretends that the same thing that he told Dom. You're being trained to think that I am selfish. He hides his reasons in selfishness. He never wants anybody to know why he does something, because the moment somebody knows your motivations, they know how to get you.
Yeah, it's a vulnerability.
Yep. Yeah. So hiding your motivations is very important. So he always is careful to say, "Oh, I'm saving Cooper because I need Cooper. I'm saving Wrestler because I need Wrestler." I am not sure how many of those don't have another more personal and had from the very beginning. I think they all do now, but from the very beginning, I think that things were not as they seemed. And the three phases that I was talking about, and I don't know if you've seen them. I know that you're not as fond of Red as I am, but I saw the first phase in which Red was, especially in regards to Katerina, was like, well, weakness and shame. And whenever Liz asked if she was a terrible person, he didn't want to answer, really. Then there was a change that happened by 220. And then he started questioning her motivations to doing things. And it speaks about the truth, and it speaks about that. But then there is a third shift that I saw in season 5. And I am not sure if anybody else saw it. So I'd be interested to see if you've seen it. Red becomes almost reckless with Liz. It's reckless with Samar, reckless with everyone. It's almost like it became a game again. Like he was very, a second, he was serious, he was involved, he was emotional. And in season 5, at the end of season 5, it felt like he has shifted again, and then he was like, "It's we're fighting, Sissy. Who gets to the bones first?"
Oh yeah, it's definitely fun. A game. And yeah. I mean, at her expense. I mean, she's trying to mourn her husband, and he's mocking her for it and making it a game. And I think that's part of what drove her into the desperate state she had when she and Jennifer, called him in, because he would. And that's one thing that's really bothered me about all of that in season 5 was that he just, and you saw it when right before she ended up shooting Ian Garvey, she had the gun on Red and she said, "This is me howling at the moon. I do deserve answers." And that Megan had such a beautiful moment there. It was so well delivered. And He was making it a game the whole time. And I think that when they are playing a game, it's fun, but it's like Liz told Tom in season 1, this isn't a job. This is my life. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with Red. This is not a game. It's my life.
The interesting thing, and I'm glad that you're seeing it too, that there is a change in Red that happened somewhere in late season 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was one of the things I really got irritated with him on. It made me very angry at him.
And because I have traced this to Katerina. It's always been about Katerina. This whole thing is about Katerina. And I think that what happened is he realized that Katerina is still out there playing. And Liz is now becoming a pawn or a surrogate for Katerina, but he's having fun with Katerina. This is all about a game of cat and mouse with Katerina and him.
And I'm sure that he had a lot of fun with it, because I fully believe that he and Kat had quite a bit of sex, as he liked to.
Drugs and rock and roll.
And sex. Did he mention sex? But yeah, I mean, I could totally see that having been their thing. This cat and mouse, that she was KGB, she was Cabal, he was an American, intelligence, or whatever intelligence, depending on the theory behind the Red that we know. Mm-hmm. And So, I mean, I could completely see that. And maybe his view of Liz is sort of skewed. And, it'd be interesting if something's kind of cracked in him so that he can't really make a separate Liz and Kat anymore, because that would be interesting.
He said, you remind me of your mother when you're betraying me.
But it would go back. It'd be very interesting to remember that statement that I asked you your opinion on. I said, I'm really hoping it's not the obvious, when he said, at least she didn't betray me again. If he keeps seeing her and now he can't not see Katerina.
I think,
and if he's not her biological father, I could see that, like that he can't separate that, and there's at least a piece of it that he can't, and that now I don't think that he's interested in her sexually, but that at least the part of it that she's capable of playing the game. I think that they're probably very. I'm finding this in my own story that I'm writing right now, in which two characters are very on par with each other, and one of them is very fond of the other one because people don't keep up with her well. And I think Red finds that people don't play on his level very well. Mm-hmm. Most of the, he probably breaks his toys. And and so far, Liz has been able to keep up. And so maybe that would be interesting. And he's
seeing more of Katerina in her, because it's like he's betraying him. And even though that Dembe said no, I don't think it would be long before he put things together. I do think that Red is Raymond Reddington. I do think he's her father. Let me put it that way. I do think that Raymond Reddington was a name used by Red long before the Night of the Fire.
I think that's a very interesting thought, and it's like that he may be getting her, at least in part, sort of mixed up with Katerina. I like that, and that would be a very interesting path to take with that.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you something. Now that we're here, I remember one.
Now that we're in the desert wasteland here.
Yeah, now we're here. Let me ask you something. I remember in season 1 when he and Sam are talking, and they're talking about this woman who has these great legs and was terrific in bed. I always felt that was Katerina they were talking about. But I had no idea, because at that point we didn't even know that Katerina was related to Red. But I had a feeling that that Katerina was the point of contact between them. So don't you think now that woman they were talking about was Katerina?
Might be, but I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there were other women that they knew. I mean, because I never got the impression that it was necessarily that Kat was the point between them, in as much that both Red and Katerina knew Sam. Like I felt like they went to Sam because they both knew him and they both trusted him, and that was kind of like, she's going to my people. No, she's going to my people. No, she's going to my people. Well, we both know Sam. We both trust Sam. She's going to Sam. That sort of thing. And so I thought you were going to come back around to did Sam give him permission? I was going to go, no. Sam did not give him permission to murder him. I don't think so.
I know that you don't see that.
Very, very stern on that one.
No. I'm just saying, because there is a comparison, but to me that when he's going to kill Sam and then Rostov, and to me this is two men who knew Katerina and at their deathbed, because at that point Konstantin was going to die. They're talking about a woman
maybe
they knew.
Yeah, I mean it's got kind of now that you're saying that, it's got kind of the same vibe of just this. I mean, it was more joking between Sam and Red because they were friends, and more of a nostalgic sort of conversation about her between Kirk and Red, because, Kirk had him strapped to a chair and was pumping him full of drugs. I mean, they weren't exactly on friendly terms.
Friendly. I mean, Red will do a lot of stuff, but, I mean, you got to stop with the friendly.
He's got some weird kinks. Those aren't them.
Especially since now he cannot invite the judge for the drinks. And to do his little fetish thing in Chambers.
Oh my gosh, Red. All right, we're gonna keep this short. It has not been short. The second round is at 41 minutes.
I think that Liz has begun to have the same thing that Jennifer did of doubting, is he my father or not? Is he Raymond Reddington or is he... There is something that is going in her mind. And by the way, I forgot to mention last week when we did Minister D, I don't know if anybody noticed, but in that scene where Jennifer says that she's going to Long Island to a friend she knows, I have a feeling that's her mother. And she was wearing plaid.
She was wearing plaid. I think I saw you make a post about that, and I started laughing very loudly.
Yeah, because she hadn't worn plaid in all this time. So all this was above board until we get to that last scene. I'm going to go to a friend of mine that is living in Long Island.
I hope you know I can't view plaid anymore without thinking of you. Like, if anybody wears plaid, I go, oh, you must be lying.
Yeah. Well, it's not sometimes the wearer, but there's something in that scene.
Yeah.
And notice how Red had been wearing this lovely plaid vest in court when he was talking about the whole thing about Katharina.
All right. Well, do you have anything else?
No, I think I don't know if we're going to do one next week or if we wait and do the two together.
Yeah,
I guess we have to wait until see how we
see how much there is for it. I will get this edited down as quickly as possible. It ended up longer than we expected. I thought it was going to be really short.
Well, but we did a lot about Liz and, and the point
it was
of
kind
view.
of I think it was a good episode. I mean, hopefully you guys did too, since we're recording it for you. But I think that wraps us up for this week. And so you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. And you can listen to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes.
And that's all. See you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.